Welcome to Reality Tea Times 2, the podcast where we discuss all the trash reality TV we love to hate. I'm Tanika, and today we're going to be discussing the single life. So, I don't have any hot goss for you at the moment. I might have something for you in a future episode, but for now, nothing really to discuss. We're just gonna hop right into the episode. So, Single Life Season 4, Episode 5, Natalie's Big Break. Lord, we're gonna get to that. That was great. But before we do, let's talk about Chantel. So, it's the next morning. We got the friends cooking some breakfast. Does this girl do anything? No. She tells them that the date was good. She enjoys the height of him. You gotta love a tall man. You gotta love it. Yeah, we all do. I'm what's my height? I'm about 5 feet to 5'1", somewhere there in the middle. My boyfriend is 6'3". That's a lot of height. But we all love a tall man, don't we? So she loves one too. Mooney asks, did your ass get cracked? Did we eat bananas? Lord Jesus, there are ways to say, did you fuck? Then all of this. Like, I don't think I've actually talked about this actually. I can't remember how it came to my attention, but it came to my attention that Mooney actually was on, My Big Fat Fabulous Life. And I thought he looked familiar because I remember seeing him and I'm just like, wait a minute, do I know you? But left it at that. And that's where I found out that yes, he actually was on My Big Fat Fabulous Life. But I do remember Whitney going to a twerking class with some other people. Like, I feel like Buddy was there too. But anyways, that's where he was. So that leads me to just think all over again, because I believe they went to a studio, or did Mooney come to her studio? I can't remember when she had the dance studio. I'm not sure how it went again because it was just a while back. But does he live then in North Carolina and we just found him? I don't think, come to think of it, from my understanding, North Carolina is not far from Atlanta. Like, it's within driving distance, I believe. So maybe, anyway. So she is not ready for a one-night stand in Greece, yet all she keeps talking about is the cucumber and all of this and all of that. And it's like, okay, Chantel, like, first of all, listen, it's okay to have a threesome. Jesus, guys, what's wrong with me? It's okay to have a threesome too, though. It's fine if that is what you want. It is okay to have a one-night stand in another country or even in your country. Who cares? It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly normal. You should experience that once or whatever. Just hit it and quit it and be done with it. You know what I mean? But for whatever reason, I don't know why she doesn't think that way. And again, marriage changes your outlook on things. But I mean, even after I decided I was getting a divorce, I still had some fun. I mean, I was kind of trying to figure out if any of these guys would be a potential. They were not. But it was fine. It didn't work out. Thank you for your service. And move on to the next. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't know. Anyway, she wouldn't mind having a kiss though. She's okay with that. Just no one night stands, I guess. She says Pedro was a player and that she just doesn't want, like, I guess, a repeat of that, or with, like, she doesn't want, like, Giannis to be that way. And again, I don't think Pedro is a player, or let's rephrase, was a player. Am I 100% believer? I'll say it again and I'll keep saying it. Am I a believer that there was infidelity? Yes. I'm not sure if that started right away, if that started as time went on, or if he got this boost of confidence with his new job if that just is kind of how it started. I don't know. I don't care. But I don't think it started off with him being a player. And again, we can all make a player fall in love. Like, and I think that if he was a player, like just playing devil's advocate, if he were a player, he fell in love with her. And I do believe that, but it has to be one way or another. It has to be either he loved me and maybe, whatever, but if he loved me, he would have stayed with me. So therefore, he never loved me. He was playing me, whatever. All the things that were being said about him from the very beginning, she's just fallen right into. And it's just like, okay, but again, to the therapy, I think it's important for her to have it because I think she needs a therapist to kind of come in from the outside and say, listen, you're saying that, Mama Karen and your whole family was saying this shit. Is it possible that your family influenced how you're seeing things? And what if how they're making you think it is not actually how it is? Because at the end of the day, her family is xenophobic. At the end of the day, I I don't want to say she is. I don't know if she is, but at the same time, I think she does exploit this like her Americanism, if that makes sense. So that's why she wants to have these international relationships when it's like, but why would you go through the same thing again? And how is that going to work? You're only married to this man for 7 years. Okay, so as of the time of this, you are responsible for him for another 3. How are you sponsoring him? And like sponsoring an international man, you could never do it. And like it's just the common sense of it of how does this actually work? It doesn't work. What is his fascination with her? Because she needs to have this fairy tale. Like, she really does. This fairy tale idea of what love is. And it's just like, no. It's no. She doesn't live in the real world, which is why I'm also just so over this. And I wonder if this is how it's always been. And we just never saw that because her and Pedro were already established when they were introduced to us. So we didn't see all the stuff beforehand. We just saw them engaged and gonna get married. That's it. It's curious to know if that is this is how she was with him too. Anyway. So she says that she just wants love so much. She doesn't just want to move, she doesn't want to move too fast, but she also wants to speed things up to get to know him more because, again, I think in this case, she's thinking about my biological clock. I only have 3 more years before my eggs are geriatric. And it's just like, okay, we got to stop with this. I understand scientifically speaking, our eggs are dwindling and scientifically are considered geriatric, but it's just like, we still have time. You have, maybe roughly 8 or so years before you really have to worry. But again, freeze your eggs if you're so concerned. Like, that's something like I've actually looked into. I've thought about doing, because I'm of the same age as Chantel. And I'm like, okay, if it doesn't happen, then I am going to look into freezing my eggs because I want to be sure that I do have children. Just in case, you just never know. So it's not the end all be all because you can't have kids naturally, I guess. Science has evolved where we, as women, should not have to worry too much about our chances of being parents. You have so much there waiting for. Now, I do understand her feeling of Pedro's wasted my time, the best years of my life. I could have been having kids, would have been a non-issue, all of this. I hear all of that. I understand that. I would have resentment towards him as well for those things, because kind of, again, going back and watching their old seasons, and kind of realizing she tried to have kids with him. She wanted to have kids with him. But what I think is also very interesting is that, like, I just finished actually watching their last season of, I think it's HEA, the last season of HEA before they went on to their own show. And how Nicole actually makes a comment to them saying, how could you have children when your families are split like this? How could you bring a child into a marriage like this? And I wonder if that did get implanted in Pedro's mind of, she's right. How could I? And I wonder if that's what stopped him. I really do. Now, do I hear all of that? Absolutely. But again, I think boundaries were set too late and nothing could have fixed anything. And I also think his family is too involved just as much as Chantel's family was. The difference is that he kind of was able to establish some sort of relationship with her family that was healthy. Chantel never did that. And I think Chantel also just did not want to do that. She didn't want to. And I mean, I'm not saying his family is perfect. They're not. But what I thought was also very interesting, kind of going back here a little bit, this is the last thing I will say about Pedro and her relationship. The one thing that Lydia says here in a previous season, in the HAA season, this is the one where we saw Karaima dancing up on Pedro. She says, listen, you don't gotta like me. It's fine. You don't have to like me, but you do need to respect me. And she's correct. You don't have to like his mom or his sister or any other family member of his, but you should respect them. And respect does not mean like. To do different things. So the hairdresser is now going to get her dues in. Oh, her dues, actually. She's going to work for her trip and start getting her hair done. Hairdresser being, what's her name again? I don't remember. Anyways. But now it's later that day. We're meeting up with Giannis and some of his friends are here. He does think that she's a cool person. However, it is important that it's important that they have the same values when it comes to family and the future in order to take this relationship, or whatever the heck it is, to the next step. And then he's like feeding her grapes and shit, and it's very suggestive how she's eating it and like staring at him in the eyes. And so then they kind of go off on their own, doing their own thing, and she asks him what exactly is he looking for. And he would like to be able to settle down, have kids. And he kind of is like, it's just a matter of finding the right person to do that with. And she's like, yeah, yeah. And he's like, but you are close to the person that I can vision that with. So she thinks about having kids all the time, as we know. And this is where she says, like, her eggs will be geriatric soon and all that. So Giannis asks, what happened to your marriage? And this is where she says, well, his family hated me. Honey, that's not the reason why. She also says that he was using her for a green card, which again, I don't think that's true at all. You're painting this picture of her ex. or sorry, your picture, you're painting a picture of your ex to make him look like the bad guy when that's not the truth. Giannis, I would suggest you watch her last seasons. Maybe then you'll get an idea of what exactly happened. And I don't know, maybe avoid it. I'm not saying that she doesn't deserve to be happy, but I think she needs to realize her part in this before she just blames Pedro willy-nilly. Because he is not the only factor as to why their marriage ended. He's one half of the reason their marriage ended, but a lot is on her and a lot is on him. Anyway, she does say at this point, like, her ideal man would be an orphan, just so that she doesn't have to deal with family drama. And he's like, oh no, that's not good, because his family is very important to him. And again, this is where I said before, you're not ready for a relationship if you think that any relationship you're in is going to be horrible because his family is going to treat you like shit. Not every family is going to treat you like shit. There are some people in families that might or might not or whatever. Every situation is different. But again, Chantel, it's partially on you too. It's not just his family. I mean, I'm going to say here it's probably like a good 80-20. 80 to the family, his family, because they're horrible. But it's, I don't know. I don't know. And again, I think a lot of the animosity they had towards Chantel was because of her family. And that was because she kept telling her family everything. And that is on you. You did that. Yeah. And again, also the whole situation with the fight that happened between Pedro and River didn't help things. Not so much the fight itself, but Chantel's reaction to it and blaming Pedro for everything. And that is unfair because from what I've seen, from what I understand, River called him the N-word and Pedro reacted. I think anyone in that situation would have reacted. And instead, Chantel just kept blaming Pedro because, of course, her brother could do no wrong. Anyways, he does, Giannis, kind of reassure her, like, you know, all the things that happened with his family and you, like, that won't happen. My family's not like that, blah, blah, blah. But then he asks her, like, would you stay here? And she's like, well, it's beautiful here. And she's like, you know, would you give me a reason to? He's like, yeah, I think I could give you a good thing here that, you know, might make you want to stay. And he kisses her. And then they go into the water and they're kissing some more, and the friends are all there watching. And she says here that she felt his passion. She didn't see his passion or grab his passion, but she felt it. I guess it passed the Greek salad test, I guess. Ew, I'm sorry that I even said that. Anyways, um, she does worry in the grand scheme of things if she is setting herself up for heartbreak again. And I said, well, I think even if she were to date a guy who is American, you're always setting yourself up for heartbreak. But that is a risk you take if you want to find love and be in love or have family or the traditional sense of the word family. So yeah, that's life. But anyways, that's it for Chantel. Let's move on to Veronica slash Tim slash Jamal slash this shit. Oh God, I have very few notes on this, but I have so many thoughts. So we are still at where we left off with the fight and Jamal being a dick, and you know, kind of again saying like, you know, you're acting like you're the. Ugh, I can't anymore. Tim feels disrespected, obviously, and I think that's again, I think I would too. And Veronica says, Timothy. Like he did something wrong. And I'm thinking, Veronica, shut the fuck up. Your man's just said that she tells me everything. I know the truth. You're here talking shit about Tim to Jamal, who has very few maturity cells in his freaking body to know to keep his mouth shut. We see it happens again next fucking week. This man is not a boyfriend material. He's the kind of guy you fuck and move on from. That is it. And she's over here being like, Timothy, like Tim did something wrong. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, bitch, Tim did nothing wrong here in this case. Anything that Tim could have said about Jamal, and he admits here, I admit I talk shit about Jamal, but that's a low blow. Absolutely. Tim could have been out here talking all kinds of shit. We all are, Veronica. We all are talking shit here about this weird fucking relationship. It's not because you're with a younger guy. It's because the younger guy is a fuckboy and is immature. And it's just like, come on. He's mature when it has to come to his mom because he needs to be. But in every other aspect of his life, the last thing he wants to be is mature. And Veronica needs a mature man. In my honest opinion, I think any woman past the age of 30 needs a mature man. We don't need a little boy who's going to waste our fucking time and just throw my ass under the bus with my ex and the person who is raising my kid. It's bullshit. And she want to be out here like, Timothy, no. Fuck this shit. Anyways. Veronica admits that Jamal doesn't know why he doesn't like Tim. He simply just doesn't like Tim because Tim doesn't like Jamal. Oh my God. Who knew? We're back at high school. What the... I'm sorry, but that's childish. It's childish to be like, oh, I don't like somebody because they don't like me. You don't have to be friendly with the person who doesn't particularly like you. You don't have to be fake, but you don't have to make things worse. You can't just be like, okay, you don't like me? I don't know why you don't like me. Maybe we can talk about why you don't like me, but I don't dislike you. But at the same time, I'm not going to be buddy-buddy with you, so I'm going to keep my distance, stay over here, be civil to you, because you are an important person in Veronica's life. You are an important person in her daughter's life, her as being her, the father she knows. So I'm going to keep it over here and let you figure your shit out. But Jamal doesn't have that maturity. He's just over here being like, he doesn't like me, and I don't like him because he doesn't like me. Like, grow the fuck up. Like, I don't understand. Grow. You want to be over? I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm sorry. His dick can't be that good. I'm sorry. Because again, that is how their relationship started. Because she thought he was hot and they had sex. Like, that's it. So I'm going to go there. His dick cannot be that good. That you're going to be over here being like, yeah. Like, no. And then she wants to say, like, because Tim's like, so him running off is a show of his maturity then. And Veronica's like, well, yeah, I'd rather my man go take a breather without causing more issues. Honey, he literally said, watch me sucker punch this guy in the face and then I'm going to leave and take the quote unquote breather. No, he's just going to talk more shit. And his Tweedledee and Tweedledum friend need to Tweedle themselves out of this picture because you have nothing to contribute to this conversation. If anything, it's going to make things just a little bit worse. So with that, his friends ask, like, why do you care so much about what Tim thinks or how Tim feels? Which is true. That's a good question to ask. Why does he care? But he says, which is true here too, Veronica cares. It's not so much that I care, Veronica cares. And as he says, he cares about Veronica, so he cares what she has to say. But I'm just like, oh, God. Like, maybe you do have to set a boundary and say, listen, you might care what he thinks. I don't. I want you to be happy and secure in what you need And if that's Tim's acceptance, then fine. But I'm not over here waiting for him to accept me. But again, Jamal doesn't have that maturity level to say that. No, instead, he's going to join in the drama and then add fuel to the fire. That's all Jamal is capable of doing. He says, like, there's so many moving parts. He says this to the friends, and he's like, but I like her. She's cool. Again, not enough. And he says that Tim is the biggest factor why he doesn't want to move. That's bullshit. You don't want to move for a multitude of other reasons. Maybe Tim is one of those reasons, but it's not the main factor. You just want to put that out there to be like, oh, what was me? And I don't buy it. You don't want to move to there because you actually probably don't give that much of a shit about her. So why would you uproot your life to move to a different state altogether? Number two, as we find out from Kim and Pillow Talk last week, you just moved back to San Diego. So why would you want to pick yourself back up and move back, go to a different state altogether again? You just moved from New York back to San Diego, and now you're going to go from San Diego to North Carolina to Charlotte? No, you're not. So that I can believe as well. So no, I don't think Tim is the biggest factor. I really don't. And if anything, again, if you could think past yourself for a second, let's pretend for a minute that's true. I think the best thing to solve the issue is if maybe you did live in Charlotte. Maybe if this relationship is being developed and Tim is seeing that, maybe over time, Tim's like, you know what? I spoke too soon. You guys are great. Whatever. I don't think Tim will go that far, but you know what I mean? Like, he might apologize for anything that he may or may not said, but I think Tim can see the writing on the wall, which we all could see. Was Tim being a lot? Yes. But Tim is saying everything that we all are as an audience in that moment in the last tell-all are like, what the fuck? Like, yes, get yours. Someone should when it came to Jamal, because Jamal was probably still is, let's be real, is one of the hottest guys to come out of this, especially as an ancillary character. Go for it. Get it. But if anything, that made things so much more worse for Jamal. Jamal should have never got involved with anybody in this franchise, because after that day, I'm like, ew, I no longer find you attractive. I feel like this hasn't made anything better. Are you a good looking guy? Absolutely. Do I want to ever be anywhere near you? No, absolutely not. You have literally Sahara just down there, just Sahara, just dry as a bone. Like, because he's an asshole. Anyway, he does go back to the group, and even though he's had this kind of conversation that maybe can shed some light as to maybe what he's thinking or how he's feeling, he still goes back and acts like a little fucking punk to Tim, and it doesn't get any better, as we will see next week. He's an asshole, and I don't understand why Veronica finds this at all appealing. Ugh. Anyways, that's it. Have you ever wanted to guest on a podcast like this one that you're listening to right now? Well, you can. You can definitely do this by visiting a website called Podmatch, where you can sign up and be available for all different types of podcasts that you can guest on. Or you can even search for a podcast and say, I want to guest on your podcast. I think we'd be a good match. So if you want to do this, you can go to our unique link, which is joinpodmatch.com/reality, and you can sign up and do exactly that. And you can find us and you can guest on our podcast. So again, that unique link is www.joinpodmatch.com. That's joinpodcast.com/reality, REALITEA, and you can be a guest on our podcast. Have you ever thought of starting your very own podcast? Doing the research, I found something that would have made editing easy and seamless and makes the podcasting experience just that much easier. And I am talking about Ludo. This is a podcast software that I use for editing of our episodes. It is amazing. It is easy. You're also able to get help from doing chats and getting the information that maybe you just need a little more help with. They also have access to different articles that can also help you that have been just godsends for me. Also with Ludo, you can create clips, you can do your ads, that's like this very one I'm doing right now, and you can create your trailer very seamlessly just by the clicks of buttons. You can also use Ludo to publish your episodes just straight from the software. It's so easy. I highly, highly recommend it. You can get access to Ludo by using our unique link, which you can find on our show notes, just down there at the bottom at the show notes. And you can get access to
something fun.
Easy software.
Natalie is next. This is fucking great. Natalie, stay as you are. Stay the same. Never change, girl, because this is great. So she has a car, guys. Josh bought her a car. And she loves it because it has air conditioning. That's not what she said. I'm just talking about. He says, it wasn't in the plan to get this car, but she was working so hard. So he awarded her with a thing on 4 wheels that goes beep, beep when you hit the horn. Anyway, so Josh is out of town for work at the moment, but he did set up an interview for her with his cousin, actually, who owns a chiropractic clinic called The Joint. She loves the name. She thinks it's cute. So they're hiring for a receptionist, and she shows up at the interview, and he shows her around, and she says to us here that she's scared of chiropractors because she actually had a bad experience with one, which I can't remember if we knew this before, but she got into an accident while she was still with Mike. She got in an accident, or I don't know if actually she was even still with Mike. She might not have been. She got into an accident in Seattle. And she actually, no, I think we did. Didn't she have surgery? And it was pertaining to this, maybe? I can't remember. But anyway, she had a bad accident or had an accident in Seattle. She went to see a chiropractor, I guess, to help with the pain. And instead they did some crack thing that just didn't go good. So she is scared of chiropractors. So anyway, we're getting to the actual interview aspect here. And Josh's cousin, as we actually find out here, met Natalie before. He was at the dinner thing in the last season where she looked miserable as ever. Anyway, he asked her, so do you have a resume? She says yes, but it's in Ukrainian. And he's like, oh, well, I probably should brush up on my Ukrainian then, shouldn't I? So she doesn't have a resume that has been translated into English. Maybe she could have done that with
us finding out that he's met her before, he actually says, I'm kind of shocked that Josh and Natalie are still together because that whole thing did not go good for my memory. Because he's like, I'm shocked they're still together, but hey, anyways. So he asks, like, what kind of experience do you have with customer service? As this is a receptionist job, right? And you do have to talk to people, interact with people. She says she has experience selling books. But oh wait, she does have experience answering phones and stuff like that, photocopying, the usual stuff. But he asks, where did you have this experience? It's probably somewhere back in Ukraine because, as we've been told, she hasn't worked since being in America. So she's like, oh, I don't know. It's complicated. So he's like, okay, so what if I ask people what they like about you or what they think about you? Like, what would they say? And she's like, huh, hmm, I don't know. Well, you know what? Josh would actually say that I'm needy. Y'all, she literally told a potential employer that if you ask his fucking cousin, he would say I'm needy. This is where you fake it to make it. You don't say those things. If you don't fucking know what someone might say about you, then you start putting out all of the positives. You could say that you're detail oriented, you have good time management, I'm punctual, I'm reliable, not fucking needy. Oh my God. And he's like, oh, okay. Um, so then she says, I mean, I don't want to go personal, but like, it's just so weird for me. He's like, do you know Josh's second child's mother? What the fuck? You're in an interview. Family member of Josh's or not, you're in a fucking interview. And he says, oh, no, I don't think so. I tend to stay out of his love life. Jesus fucking Christ. And she's like, oh, you don't know her either. She's a mystery woman, I guess. No, it's you're in a fucking interview asking about, and you don't think that's gonna come back to him. You don't think that the cousin's gonna say, listen, this bitch is batshit. She can't work for me. There's no fucking way. She literally said that she's fucking needy. I can't have someone needy as a receptionist. We're gonna have problems. I've worked as a receptionist. You can't be fucking needy. The last thing people care about are your fucking needs as a receptionist. Not my place though. My place was different. So then I started off reception at my current position, reception, whatever, doesn't matter. And I'm like, huh, the last thing. Oh, and then by the way, she also asked me if I know your baby mama, your second one. You don't think that's gonna come back to him? I don't understand. Anyways, he says, okay, so it was really great meeting you. This was great. This was so much fun. I will contact you to let you know. He's never calling her. Just never calling her. She did not get that fucking job, guys. If she got that job, I will be shooketh. Because you know she got the job because Josh is like, for fuck's sakes, please give her the job. Otherwise, I'm gonna pay for everything. So Natalie is cooking in the next scene. Josh is going to be coming over for dinner with a friend of his and his girlfriend. So it's going to be a double date with mom. Oh, but guess what, guys? The friend, he's a producer. Oh my. Okay. So they show up and there's only 4 chairs available. So guess what? Josh has to sit on the bed. She literally says to Josh, I am so sorry. We only have 4 chairs, Josh. I'm going to need you to sit on the bed. He's like, okay, yeah, sure. I'll sit anywhere you want me to. He's like, that was weird. So we make a toast, you know, kind of thanking everyone for coming. And then she just hones right into the producer friend. And she's like, I love your movies. I actually want to read you Shakespeare. I'm not professional. but I want to read you something in Shakespeare in Russian. And he's like, oh, okay. So she's like, all right, okay, I'm going to reenact. I'm going to try and do my best reality gaze here. And she's like, she looks down and then she looks up and she has like the gone close look in her eyes. I won't be ignored. Dan. That's the look she has in her eyes. And she looks down and she looks back up and she's like, in Russian. Obviously, I'm not Russian, so I cannot say this in Russian. But she's like, I'm scared to meet you. It's scarier not to meet you. I began to wonder at everything. Shadows walk down the street. I don't understand whether they live or sleep, clinging to the church steps. I'm afraid to look back, and you're not there. You're there. And scene. Brava, Natalie, brava. I was like, wait, she's really doing this? And my mom's like, what is she doing? I'm like, she's doing a reading. Just there. And the look that his girlfriend gave, which is like, what the fuck? She's like, I'm right by the door. Do I need to escape? Like, my God. And her mom's like, that was beautiful. This was so great. So, yeah, David, this is a producer friend, says, that was so nice. You're good. It was authentic. So, we actually have this horror movie that we're going to be auditioning for. You're so fucking scary, Natalie. So, we're going to have to put you in a horror movie. You might actually be the possessed one. You, you could be like the little girl in the rain. That's you. That is you. You are her. She is you. This is great. This is so great. um, Josh was definitely not expecting this. No, Josh, none of us were. But he's like, you know what? It took a lot of guts. And now dinner was a success. So, yay. And that's it for Natalie. This was so good. This is just peak single life. Last but not least, we have Tyray. We're just gonna hurry on through this because again, I don't enjoy talking about him. I'm not mean or anything. He barely had a storyline that should have been on the show in B90. Like, anyway, so it has been a few weeks now since the quote unquote date that did not happen. So he is going to be going to New Orleans with his brothers. They want to get him, they want to get Tyray some sort of action, something. Kiss, a touch, maybe he can get something in there. I don't know. That's what they're trying to see if something can happen. So we're there. We are in New Orleans. And he wants to have his first kiss while he's there. Okay. He envisions it to be on a boat with lights. Kind of like in The Little Mermaid. When the frog is singing. Wait. When this dum-dum, who clearly loves Disney movies. I do too. I love Disney movies too. And he's like, when the frog is singing. And I'm thinking, well, sir, there actually is a frog that sings in a Disney movie. That's just not The Little Mermaid. And I think they were actually on a boat then too. And you are in New Orleans where it was set. Maybe that's why you got confused, but nonetheless, we all know it's a lobster that looked like a crab. And his name was Sebastian. And even Sebastian is kind of like, no, sir. No. No. I can't help you. He just wants to have a kiss in a blue lagoon. Possibly she wants to too. There is one way to ask her. You don't know why, but you're trying not to kiss the girl. That's not how the words go. But anyways, it's fine. So anyway. So his brother asks, what kind of girl do you like? Don't you know He wants to marry what's her face? Hillary Clinton. That's who he wants. That is his ideal woman. He wants a modest haircut, shoulder length. He wants someone in, I don't know, New Balance or something. And he wants, not that I have anything against New Balance. I have New Balance too. And he wants someone who's in a pantsuit. That's exactly what he's looking for. Who may or may not have been cheated on by their husband, because we just don't know whether or not he actually did have sexual relations with that girl. But we know he did. If not her, at least someone else. Because, yeah. So, he says everything. See, that's not good. You can't like everything. No one likes everything. You can be broad or not broad, but you could, in hindsight, kind of like you don't limit yourself too much, but everyone has a limit. And Tyray doesn't know what that is. Not that I don't think Tyray doesn't know what that is. I think Tyray thinks I shouldn't limit myself because, well, I haven't gotten anything yet. So I don't know. But he says he wants an aggressive woman because he wants them to be able to make the first move. He doesn't feel comfortable doing that himself. So the brother says, you need to be like a bad guy. And the other brother kind of says, yeah, what he's trying to say is you need to have a little more edge, kind of have some swag, And that is true. I mean, again, like in retrospect, I think a lot of women are kind of like, oh, Tyray's so cute and he's so sweet and he's so kind and he's all these things. And it's like, yes, there's no doubt that he is all of those things. And that is great for a friendship. But don't sit here and pretend like that's someone you want to have sex with. And again, I don't want Tyray to lose himself in the grand scheme of things, because then he will become an asshole. No one wants that. But what his brother is saying is you do need to have this, really and truly, what he's describing is not him being a bad guy. It's him having confidence. And Tyray doesn't have confidence. And that's the sad part about Tyray. And I don't mean sad in a bad way. I mean, like, it's sad that he can't feel confident in what he has to offer. And I think a lot of that comes from his weight um and just his lack of experience. And you gotta start somewhere, right? And when it comes to the weight, well, that's always a work in progress. That's always something that you can work on. It doesn't have to hold you back. I don't know. You can still be overweight. Look at Biggie. Biggie was overweight too, but the man had this confidence that still never stopped any woman from wanting him, you know? And may he rest in peace. But that's exactly it. It doesn't matter your size, because there is always going to be someone who doesn't give a shit about that. So, yes, but don't let it hold you back. So anyway, we move on, and we're going to this like bar. He orders a hurricane. Hurricane is apparently very brutal, but he sees this table full of women who are on a girls trip themselves, and he kind of like, oh, they're cute, and he ends up walking up to them. The brothers are with him, and they're talking, and he, first thing, he introduces himself. This one woman that he's kind of into has like these tattoos. She's single. She's, I guess, the only one who is. Then Tyray says, well, I used to be in this 4-year relationship with a man. Oh, God. And they're like, what? And there's the thing, again, if he was in a relationship with a man, that's fine. But obviously that's not why he's saying it, because if he was saying I was in a relationship for 4 years, if he were to be gay of some sort, then he would just say I was in a relationship. So clearly he's trying to point out the fact that I was in a relationship
with a man for 4 years. And that's not true. I mean, it's true, obviously, but for you, you thought you were in a relationship with a woman the entire time and that you were not being catfished. Although I don't know how you didn't realize that, but anyways. So the brothers are like, oh, wait. It was, yes, it was, but, and then the women were like, oh, you're catfished. And he's like, yeah, you could have just not put that. And the brother's like, yep, there he goes, trauma dumping. He's just dumping all this trauma on these women. But then him and the tattooed girl kind of go off by themselves. They're gonna talk and get to know each other. And she says that she just got out of a long-term relationship. She was actually married. And he tells her, like, you know, he did always feel that there was something off about Carmela. You did, because you never really said that on the season. So I'm not sure if you're just saying that or if you really did think that. And then why didn't you, I don't know, follow your gut? Moral of the story, everybody, follow your gut. So she doesn't usually talk to strangers, she says, but she kind of feels like he's genuine and they're going to plan to meet up again. So we'll see if that happens. But that is it for Tyray. That is it for the episode. So next time on, Debbie is in Miami. She's going to be meeting Ruben the Cuban. John is meeting her daughter. Oh boy. We're going to have a double date with Veronica and Tim. So we're going to have Veronica, Jamal, and Tim and Louisa. And this is where Jamal says, oh, she compares us all the time about Veronica. This fucking guy. Natalie's mom wants to talk to Mike, and Natalie calls him, and she's like, Michael, and he's like, Mama. Oh. And she then invites Mike to come to LA. And Natalie is like, oh God. So, anyways. Josh is actually going to have his own little time away, I guess, from Natalie, and he's not too sure about Natalie. He likes her, but, you know, his friends don't seem to be very confident when it comes to Natalie, which that's, yeah. But that is it for this episode. So if you like what you heard, please rate and review the podcast on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Again, we're on every different podcast app that you desire to use. We're also on YouTube at Reality Tea Times 2. If you want to connect with us, you can do so by going to Facebook or Instagram at Reality Tea Times 2, Instagram, Threads, Twitter, TikTok at Reality Tea Times 2 pod. You can email us at realityteatimes2 at hotmail.com. We have a website at solo.to/reality tea times 2. Don't forget, I also have another podcast with my friend Mikkel called the Next Take Podcast, where we have conversations and discussions about just about everything. And you can find us at our website at solo.to/Next Take Podcast, YouTube at Next Take Podcast. But that's basically it. Again, don't forget, if you rate and review us on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify, it's a 5-star rating, I will read that on the podcast. But that is it for now. Thanks, guys. Bye.